Hey guys, thank you so much for clicking on today's video. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Annalise and this is my channel where we get planty with it. I post houseplant videos about twice a week, although I'm trying to increase it a little bit. And today I'm going to be doing my updated entire houseplant tour. My last one was back in, I think, June, so it's been about 6 months and a lot has changed. I've gotten a lot of new plants. I've given away quite a few plants, so I'm going to try to move quickly through this because there are quite a lot of plants here. So if you want to see all the plants I currently have in my houseplant collection, then keep on watching. Okay, so I'm going to be starting off in our living room at my desk area. I have quite a few plants around here. My vision with these shelves was to have a bunch of hanging plants on it that cascade down and cover the entire wall. So we're getting there. So first up is this beautiful Monstera Deliciosa. This is just a regular one. When I got it, it did have some little sport variegation, as you can see there, but it wasn't in the stem, so it hasn't really retained that. So it's just a regular Monstera, but it's super beautiful. Next up is this cute little combination pot of Hoya Crimson Princess and Hoya Crinkle 8. I love how they look together. The contrast of the dark green of the bottom plant and then the lighter colors of the top plant is just so stunning. And look how pink that stem is. It's so pink. Next up, just sitting on my desk, kind of isolating right now, are the two plants I picked up from Soil Vibes this week. If you watched the video, you already saw these guys. But this is a Homalomena Selby, which is my only Homalomena. I'm really excited about it. And then this is a Hoya Bertonii here. Doing super well. It's gonna go into my Hoya cabinet soon, but I'm just letting it acclimate out here first. So moving along to the shelves here, first up is a Scindapsus Pictus Argyrius, which is the smaller leaf Scindapsus. It's super beautiful. It's getting a little bit leggy, so I'm probably gonna chop it back soon and plant some stuff on the top of the pot so it gets a little bit fuller. Next up here is a favorite of, I think, most plant people. This is a Philodendron Brazil. You can see just how beautiful the leaves are. And the best part is every single leaf comes out completely different. Look at this one down here. This leaf is almost entirely neon green, just a little bit of the darker green up there. I think that's so pretty. So next up right here is a Hoya linearis. This is actually my second one because I killed the first, but this one is doing so much better and actively growing. I just love how it looks in this black pot. Next up right here is a Philodendron micans. I just love the color of the leaves on this plant. They're kind of like a maroon brownish red color. I just love it, and the leaves are so velvety. You can see. So up here is a Philodendron silver stripe. It is quite similar to the Brazil. However, the leaves can come out a lot more elongated like this one, and the variegation on the leaf is more of a cream color. Super pretty. And then I'm not going to take this guy down, but up there is a regular green heartleaf Philodendron. Definitely another one of my favorite plants. They're just so consistent. They grow so easily. They're not dramatic. They're awesome. And then down here, last plant on my desk is a little holiday cactus. This guy bloomed at Thanksgiving, so I think we're done with blooms for this year, but it's doing well, it's hanging out. Okay, so moving on over to my first IKEA greenhouse cabinet here. This is the rootstock cabinet. I'm gonna start with all the plants that are on top of it and then we'll go into it. So first up is one of my favorite alocasia. This is an alocasia black velvet. Look how big this new leaf is. It's massive. And it's putting out a new leaf in here, you can see. The coolest part too is the back of the leaves are like purple with this awesome green veining. I don't know, I feel like you just wouldn't expect that from the front of the leaf. You wouldn't expect that much color in the back, but it's awesome. Up here is another regular Monstera Deliciosa, but it's a lot larger. We got it as a one leaf cutting. This was the original leaf. You can see the midrib fenestrations there. So this is a very mature form of a leaf. And then it put out this adorable new leaf over here within the past couple of weeks. Right here in this cute little space planter is a Marble Queen Pothos. I am really proud of this one because it started as a single leaf and now it's almost a full plant. Super cute. Here is a little Peperomia Frost. I just love the silvery color of the leaves. I don't have a ton of Peperomia, but I like the couple that I have. Okay, in this cloche here, I'll take it off, is my baby El Chaco Red. It recently put out this leaf here, which is super cute. There's a little rip in it, but that's okay. And now it looks like it's gonna put out a pretty good sized one. This here is the newest leaf. So very excited to see that. I've noticed it seems to do really well in the cloche. It didn't even love it in the cabinet. The cloche seems to be better for it. And then in the back, this big guy, how can I miss him? This is my Philodendron Ploumanii. I absolutely love this plant. You can see some of the leaves have some silver splashing on it. This one might be better. This is the newest leaf here. You can see it's pretty big. And the other cool part about this plant is the petioles are fully wavy. I think that's so cool. Not a lot of plants have that kind of petiole shape. Moving along into the greenhouse cabinet, this is where a lot of different plants are. So we'll try to move kind of quickly through them. So starting out is this Syndapsis Silver Lady. This is actually in one of my first ever plant trades with my friend, so she's very special to me, but I just love her patterning. Behind it here, this is a variegated Philodendron Domesticum. I got this as an unrooted cutting, so it took a while to root up, but now it might be hard to see, but there's a teensy little growth point in there, so I can't wait to see what its first leaf looks like. In the back, I don't want to take him all the way out, but in the back corner there is a Philodendron Jose Buono. This is the newest leaf, which is quite a bit larger than the other leaves. This plant is super cool because the variegation comes out pretty white, and then it'll fade down to more of this like lime green color. Under it right here is just a little Hoya Polynura cutting. I actually have another one of these as well, but I just love how cute they are. Okay, the two plants I took out. So first up is this beautiful Anthurium Pappy. I'm not even going to try to say the full name because I'll butcher it. This leaf is still growing. You can tell because it has a lot of red tones, which means it's not fully hardened off. When they harden off, they become this deep dark green color. This is definitely my favorite Anthurium I have. I mean, I only have 3, but this is definitely my favorite because these mature leaves are just so insanely beautiful. The other one that I just took out was the Philodendron Parizo Verde. So they usually have this type of variegation on their leaves. Unfortunately, the last 2 leaves came out pretty much solid green. So I may have to cut it back down the road, but I'm letting it just grow one more leaf to see how it does, and then maybe I'll cut it back if I have to. Also up front here is this little adorable Ring of Fire. Now, you usually don't see them this small. This guy started out as a 1-leaf cutting, and the leaf was pretty big, but it did die back to a chunk, and so I rerouted it, and now it's doing really well. I'm just happy it's kept so much of its variegation. I can't wait to see what the next leaf looks like. So next up is this Philodendron White Princess. This is actually a gift my friend just gave me. This more mature leaf is on the way out. As you can tell, it is yellowing, but it's putting out another leaf in here. I'm a little nervous because the new leaf looks like it's going to be completely white, which usually does not last very long on plants, but maybe there's some green hidden on the inside there. We'll see. Okay, next up is this little baby Philodendron Soderoy. It's doing well in terms of rooting up. This new leaf that is coming out looks like it's not really going to make it. You can kind of tell I don't know what's going on with it, but it looks like it's going to rip. But I'm just letting it do its thing and acclimate, and it'll put out better leaves when it's ready. Right here is a Philodendron White Knight. I got this guy as just a single leaf cutting, and there's a new leaf coming out. It doesn't have a ton of variegation on it. You can see there's this little stripe here, so we'll see what the new leaf does. Hopefully it has a little bit more. Back here is an Anthurium. This actually belongs to my boyfriend, so I don't remember the name, but I'll put it on the screen. Look at the newest leaf it just put out. It's so cute. The leaves come out all folded up, and then as they mature, they unfold and like flatten out into this shape. Right up front here, this is my variegated heartleaf Philodendron. So you can see it looks kind of like a traditional heartleaf, but just has some variegation on the leaves. I just put it on this pole, and I'm super excited to see it grow off the pole. I've seen some people who have these with massive leaves, so hopefully one day. In the back right here, this is a Philodendron Florida Ghost. You can tell by the red petioles that it's the ghost. And I'm just rooting it up and hoping it grows some new leaves soon. In the back right here is my little begonia. There's actually 2 different types of begonia in here. This one up front is a begonia Linda Dawn. And then in the back here, I'm not sure what type of begonia this is, but it has a more polka dot texture on it. And then finally in the back here is my Philodendron Burl Marks Fantasy. This guy has been so frustrating because I haven't been able to get the leaves any bigger than this pretty much. I'm letting it climb over the moss pole now, and soon I'm going to secure it to the pegboard in the back to see if it'll climb that, and maybe that will help the leaf mature beyond this very baby point. So I have 4 plants on little shelves in here. First up is this adorable Dischidia ovata. This is a watermelon Dischidia because the leaves sun stress to a beautiful red tone, and then the striping on the leaves looks kind of like a watermelon. This guy's been sun stressing so much recently. Next up is my little variegated String of Hearts container. I got this guy in soil and it didn't do great, so it's in spag right now and it's putting out new growth. It seems happy. In this little cup is my Peperomia prostrata, or string of turtles. It is blooming. These are what the blooms look like, just these little stringy things. And it's putting out tons of new growth. I love that some of the turtles are coming out with this darker purple color instead of the washed out light green. I think it might be because it's getting more light, it's doing more of that. And then last but not least is this Hoya Wayetii or Kentiana. I'm not sure which one it is, but it has this beautiful white variegation that actually sun stresses when it's near a grow light or gets good sun. So you can see this one piece here is kind of becoming a little bit pinkish. And then real quick on the bottom shelf right here, there's only a couple of plants. First up is my silver band Maranta. So the mature leaves, you can really see the silver down the middle of the leaf. It's growing super well and seems to love it in the cabinet, so I'm just letting it do its thing. Down here I also have my Philodendron verrucosum. It's been kind of struggling recently because it got really bad spider mites, but it's been treated, it's doing better, and it just put out this leaf that looks like it's going to be actually healthy. So that's very exciting. And then back here I have this long cutting of a Hoya carnosa compacta. I'm going to pot it in with one of my other compactas sometime soon, but I'm just letting it root up in perlite for now. That's pretty much it for this bottom shelf. So I have this little table sitting in front of my greenhouse cabinet. Has a few plants on it. So first up, this is my Philodendron Florida Beauty. Definitely one of my top plants in my collection. I'm so excited about this guy. It was actually living in my greenhouse cabinet, but I noticed it started getting kind of sun stressed and not in a good way, and so I moved it out here so it gets a little bit less light, but still gets a decent amount. And then there's this new leaf coming out. What's interesting about these guys is you can't really see the variegation until they really begin to harden off, so have no idea what this leaf will look like, but we will see. Right here I have a classic string of hearts. I did the technique of wrapping it around the top of the container in hopes that it will root down into the soil and put out more growth points, and it seems to be working pretty well. You can see there's a very long strand there and then quite a few coming off the top. Next is one of my recent favorites. I've loved it so much more since I staked it up, but this is a Scindapsus Silver Splash. So you can see that the silvery patterning is different from the other two Scindapsus we've seen so far. And these plants are naturally shinglers, so they like to have a surface to climb. So I've put it on here and I'm hoping it's gonna root into here soon, but so far I just like how it looks climbing up. Right here is an emerald pothos. It's kind of hard to see, but it has variegation on it. So the inside of the leaves are a little bit darker and then the outside of the leaves are lighter. Here are just some Aranda Monstera silsipicana cuttings. I'm letting them root up in here and then I'm going to decide what to do with them. I think I'm going to have them climbing up a plank at some point, just haven't gotten around to doing that yet. And then lastly on this little table is this beautiful Calathea. I forget the name of this one as well, but I'll put it on the screen. Look how beautiful the patterning on the leaves is. And then the back of the leaf has this beautiful purple tone as well. And very excitingly, we just transferred it to LECA and there's a new growth point coming out. So I can't wait to see what this new baby leaf looks like. So now we're standing in the window. This is an east facing window, so it doesn't get a ton of light, but all the plants here seem pretty happy, so that's been working. Up here hanging from that hook is this adorable little terrarium thing that has a Hoya. It used to be called Macrophylla, but now I think it's called Latifolia. And this is the alba marginata form because there's white variegation on the outside of the leaf. This is my favorite leaf right now. It's a relatively new one. It's still kind of soft. And I just love how bright green the edging is. This is a beautiful Philodendron Esmeralda dense. I got this at the Ecuagenera pop-up and it's just been taking off. Since I brought it home, it put out this stunning leaf. And then it has a new leaf on the way right here. So I'm super happy with it. I definitely need to stake it up kind of soon because as you can see, it's just holding itself up with this little chopstick. So that'll be a project for another day. Down here is one of my Hoya carnosa compactas. I think this is the pot that I'm gonna put the other one into. Obviously I would need to repot it in a bigger pot, but I think it'll look good with this guy. So moving over right here, this is a Philodendron Soderoy. It does have silvery markings on the leaves. So these are the 3 original leaves that it came with. They're not doing absolutely amazingly. They've definitely held on, but you can see there's some yellowing. But there's hope because this guy is putting out a new leaf right now and I can't wait to see what that looks like. I transferred it into this long acrylic planter that has LECA in it because it's a crawling plant and it seems to be pretty happy with that. It's definitely rooting down into the planter, so that is a good sign. Next up is this stunning Philodendron Mayoi. I feel like not a lot of people talk about this plant, but it's so unique. This is the newest leaf it put out. Look how cool that guy is. This is what the leaves look like when they are starting to unfurl. So they're all folded up. I can't wait to see how big this new leaf gets. But this guy's just been growing like crazy since I put him into LECA. He's definitely gonna need an up pot sometime soon. Okay, so now we're standing in our entryway area. We only have about one plant here because this is pretty far pulled back from the window, so it doesn't get a ton of great light. But here we have a jade pothos. This guy's just been hanging out here and won't stop growing. As you can see, it's taking over most of the table here. And the fun part is some of the leaves have decided to have some marble queen variegation on it. So it's just this one strand that's done that, but it's like every leaf has a little bit of variegation on it. So that's pretty cool. Okay, moving along into the living room area, we have our little bar cabinet over here with a few plants on it. First up is this Hoya pubicalyx Splash. I absolutely love this Hoya. This is definitely one of my fastest growing houseplants, and some of the leaves are so big. You can see that leaf is basically as long as my hand. It does have a lot of crazy tendrils here. You can see they're just kind of shooting out everywhere, but you never want to cut these off because this is where the new growth comes from. As you can see, this was a long tendril and then they put out some growth on it. So you want to make sure you leave those so the plant can grow. In this little propagation station here that I got antiquing in New Jersey, I have some variegated burl marks cuttings. They're all pretty well rooted in here, but I'm saving these all to sell. Over here, this was part of my import order. This is a Philodendron giganteum, the variegated form. Some people call it the blizzard. This is the newest leaf, which just has the most beautiful variegation. Definitely the best leaf so far on this plant. Here's another good one. And these get really, really massive, so I'm really excited to see this guy grow and hopefully become a floor plant. Next is this cute little domino peace lily. So it's like a regular peace lily, but it has some variegation on it. So there's some more sectoral variegation like up here, but then there's a lot of more kind of mottled variegation throughout the leaves. Okay, so moving along, here is a Philodendron Birkin. Look at this new leaf this guy's putting out. It's so beautiful. This guy is such a prolific grower and requires really little attention, but still does so well. Next up, this cutie is a Philodendron Silver Sword. There are quite a few different plants in this pot, so it looks a little bit crazy right now. I think I might get this climbing a pole sometime soon, but I'm just letting it do its thing for now. You can see there's some new growth coming in right there. There's another new leaf coming in down here. So it's just doing its thing. So next up is a Syndapsis Jade Satin. It usually has these really dark, deep green leaves, but occasionally it'll put out a leaf with some silver on it, which is super beautiful. Next to it here is my larger Hoya carnosa compacta. It's going through some sort of issue right now, so it doesn't look great, but I'm hoping it bounces back. Next to it here is my Monstera Thai Constellation. This is my favorite leaf because it's the first fenestrated leaf, and I just love how the variegation came out. It should be pushing out a new leaf soon. I'm hoping so. It's dropping its lowest leaf, but I'm not going to stress about that because it's okay. Up here is our bigger heartleaf philodendron. This guy goes all the way down to the floor, but he's so beautiful. I think when we moved here, it started out about this height, and the rest of it is all new growth. So right here is a Philodendron mexicanum. You can tell by the signature lobed ear shape. And then on the back here, the leaves are really deep purple color. Next to it is my Philodendron Pink Princess, another favorite of mine. It did just put out this crazy all pink leaf pretty much. So we'll see how that does, but it's seeming to love this location. Here is a Tradescantia of some type. I'm not remembering the exact name, but the foliage is so pretty. It has green and purple tones on the leaves. I have this guy in this little hoop trellis, but I think I'm just gonna let it trail when it's ready. Next to it here is this Syndapsis Trubii Moonlight. Has some really beautiful large leaves on it. Then in this face planter, I just have some propagations. I'm not going to go through them all because they're all doubles of plants I have elsewhere. Here is a variegated whalefin Sansevieria. I was struggling with this guy for a while. He was doing fine, but his roots weren't really developing and he didn't put out any pups or anything, so I moved it into Leca and it seems way happier in here. I'm hoping we get a pup sometime soon. Here is an Alocasia Frydek. This guy used to be way bigger, but then I forgot to refill the water reservoir, so it pretty much died completely out. But you can see we have 2 new leaves coming on the way, so it's gonna fill out really soon. And then last but not least is this Monstera Albo Variegata. This one I'm super excited about because I thought it had reverted. You can see here's one green leaf, here's another green leaf, but it just put out this half moon leaf with a fenestration, so I have high hopes for this guy. So I have one more plant to show you guys before we leave this room. This is my Philodendron gloriosum. You might be wondering why it's in water, because in a recent video I potted it up into leca, but it started dying. And so I have a video in the works right now that'll come out soon about me rehabbing this guy and hopefully bringing him back to life. So now we're in the plant room. There are quite a lot of plants in here, so I'm going to try to move through them more quickly than the other room because that took a little bit longer than expected. So let's jump into it. Top shelf here, we have a few plants. This is a Hoya Crimson Queen. It just has the opposite variegation of the Crimson Princess, which you guys saw earlier. Up there is a Monstera Adansonii. I think that's the wide form. It's growing pretty happily. Here is another little Syndapsis Trubii Moonlight, just the same as the one you guys saw earlier. Right here, rooting in water, is my Ficus Ruby Tonique. It didn't do well in soil, and I ended up having to chop it, and now it's in water. Not really rooting. Here is a begonia. You guys saw this begonia earlier already, so I'm not gonna talk about it again. Up here is a parlor palm. This guy's doing super well. This frond right here is a new one. It's gonna open up soon. In the back here is a plant that I don't know why, but we keep struggling with. This is a Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, but for some reason it hates us, it hates life, and just continually does horribly. Moving down, so the shelf is mostly my boyfriend's plants. He's really into alocasia, so most of these are his. First up is this beautiful Alocasia Silver Dragon. For a hand test, this leaf is significantly bigger than my hand, and then the newest leaf is just insane. You can tell it still has more of a greenish hue because it's not completely done hardening off. Back here is a Rhaphidophora decursiva. We've really been trying to get the leaves to fenestrate, but unfortunately it hasn't happened. They just keep coming out like this. Right here is an Alocasia dragon scale. It's a little bit different than the silver dragon in that the leaves are a much darker black color. Here is another baby silver dragon. My favorite leaf is this one because it's kind of variegated. Ooh. But that variegation didn't stay throughout the plant, sadly. But you can see what, oh!
That's crazy.
Well, I'm kidding then. The variegation did stay a little bit. So that's the newest leaf, and that's like a good size of variegation. Oh my gosh, okay. Next shelf. Here is a Cebu Blue, super cute. Everyone loves this plant. You know, just the Cebu. Here are some Monstera Peru cuttings just hanging out in some sphagnum moss. These guys took forever to root, but they're putting out new growth, so we're happy. Back here is a Polonia pulchra, which is a super cute terrestrial plant, meaning it likes to crawl along the forest floor. Obviously, it's not doing that right now, but it seems pretty happy just trailing over the edge of this pot. So next up is this beauty. This is a variegated Amydrium medium. You can see it has the classic Amydrium medium leaf shape, but it has this beautiful white variegation. I love this leaf, even though it's not the mature leaf shape. The variegation on it is so pretty. So it's been doing really well. It's kind of loving this long planter we put it in. You can see how crazy the root growth is down there. Moving along, these are some cuttings from a Philodendron pedatum. Don't know what happened with this one. I think it got too much light, but they're just rooting up in some water. Behind them here are some Philodendron subhastatum cuttings. These are super cool long leaf philodendron, and the back of the leaves are usually red. A lot of them have more red than this leaf specifically does, but I don't know, the type I got clearly does not have that much red. Right up here in a cloche that I'll take off is my Philodendron Pink Princess baby cuttings. These ones have really, really good variegation, so I'm trying to give them ideal conditions in this cloche, and they're doing well. Right here is another Alocasia Friday. I grew these guys completely from corm, so I'm pretty proud of them. They're doing really well. Living in sphagnum, super rooty. Yeah. Back here, that one's a funny one. That's a Philodendron Dodsonii. I talked about it in my Equigenera video, but when I bought it, I thought it was a Philodendron rugosum. It is not, but I'm still enjoying it. It's still cute, and the leaves have a really cool texture. Here is a Philodendron Golden Dragon. So unfortunately, a lot of the more mature leaves don't have variegation. The last really well variegated leaf was this baby leaf down here. But I'm still enjoying the leaf shape. This is the newest leaf, and you can see that kind of dragon head shape coming out. Then in the back corner right there is a Philodendron Painted Lady on a little trellis. Okay, moving down, here is a Hoya Australis Lisa. It's been kind of a slow grower for me, but it just started to put out these two new baby leaves in there, so that is pretty exciting. Behind it here, this is an Amydrium medium, just the regular green form. It's put out a lot of these less mature looking leaves, but it looks like this newest leaf that's unfurling right here has some fenestrations in it, so we'll see that when it unfurls. Looks kind of kooky. Up here is a plant I can't stand. This is a watermelon peperomia. It's looked horrible from the day it's arrived, and it just does absolutely nothing but look really ridiculous. Okay, back here is a variegated philodendron burrow marks. This is one of my favorite cuttings because the variegation it's been putting out is so stunning. You can see the more mottled variegation on this leaf, and then the newest leaf it put out is a half moon leaf with half pure yellow variegation and half of this mottled variegation. Super pretty. Here is a Hoya Chelsea, just a classic green kind of heart-shaped leaved Hoya. Back here is a peperomia. It's a parallel peperomia. I forget the official name. For some reason, I'm really struggling with this guy too. You can see this branch is dying off. I don't really get it. I don't really know, but we'll try. Here is a little cup of alocasia corms. I'm not sure exactly what type all of these alocasia are because we just put a bunch of corms in some sphagnum moss and they're sprouting. One exciting piece is this little leaf here. It does have some variegation on it, if you can see that. And it looks like there's another leaf with some variegation. So maybe we have a variegated alocasia in there, we'll see. This guy is a ghost euphorbia, so it's a type of euphorbia, but it has this beautiful white color with some kind of blue towards the end of the spikes. Right here, this is a Epipremnum pinnatum albo variegata, so just the variegated Epipremnum. Super beautiful leaves. And these leaves, when they are full grown, they can actually fenestrate. So I have it on this pole, trying to mature it so we can get it to fenestrate sometime. And then last but not least, here are just some Syndapsis silver splash cuttings. I've already shown you guys this plant, so you know what it looks like. Moving down to the bottom shelf, there's only a few plants down here. First up is this Calathea warshawekii. I talk about this guy quite a bit, but it's also called the jungle velvet Calathea because it has beautiful velvety leaves. Like all Calathea though, it does have some crispiness, some damage we had to cut off, so it's not looking the best, but it's still a beautiful plant. This is a little baby goldfish plant down here, just hanging out. I have a little blue torch cactus that's done absolutely nothing, but it's still very cute. Ouch! Back there is a little baby Ripsalis. I'm not sure the exact type, but this is him. So back here is a Monstera lechleriana. It looks kind of similar to a Monstera adansonii, but the fenestrations do mature a little bit differently. I have another one that I'll show you guys in a little bit that you'll be able to see better. And then down here is this little succulent garden that I made in a video once. A lot of stuff wasn't doing well, but the variegated bear paw ended up doing super well in here. Ow! And this burrow's tail also is doing really well. Thank you. Okay, I'm not gonna take you guys all the way into my prop box. I just wanna show you one plant that's in here. Actually two. This is my perlite propagation box. I can do a full prop box tour at some other time. But first up, this is a cutting from my philodendron bilietiae. This is my last cutting. I gave one away to a friend, and then I used one in a giveaway I did recently. So this guy's rooting up in here. The only other really exciting piece is this humongous chunk right here, if you guys can see that. That is the philodendron El Chaco Red that I got from Ecuagenera. It didn't do great. All the leaves died, the roots rotted, so now it's in this prop box, but it is rooting up. You can see this little healthy pink root here. So hopefully it'll come back to life and do amazingly. Okay, moving right along. Here we are, next plant shelf. This is a philodendron golden goddess. Beautiful neon green leaves. Look at these guys. This one has been a pest magnet for some odd reason, but it seems like it's doing okay right now. Over here is my Syngonium pink splash. You can see how beautifully pink and splashy the leaves are. This is the newest leaf right here. So stunning. Super proud of this guy because for a while it could only hold on to 3 leaves at a time, and now we're up to like 7, so that's pretty exciting. Right here is a philodendron mamei or mame, I'm not sure how you say it. This guy has just not grown well for me, and so it's rooting up again in water, and we're gonna try to restart it. Here is my mother plant of my philodendron Florida Ghost. These leaves are not doing amazingly. I think they're gonna not last for super long, but there is a growth point popping out right here, so we should get new growth there soon. So this is my mother plant, Philodendron bilietiae, that I took all my cuttings from, but it's growing back. This was the first leaf it put out since being cut. A little bit wimpy, but you know, it's there. And then this is the new growth point that hopefully will activate soon. Okay, so under this cute little Tupperware is a Philodendron silver dragon corm doing super well. As you can see, we have way too many corms growing around here and so many baby alocasia. Anyway, Back here, these were 2 chunks from a Monstera albo. You can see the first one sprouted and put out 2 completely green leaves, so no variegation on that. But the second chunk here just put out this leaf, which is pretty nicely variegated. I have no idea what this leaf is going to look like, but we'll see. Hopefully it has some sort of variegation on it. These are a lot of cuttings of plants I've already talked about, so I'm going to skip over most of them. But here is my mama plant of my variegated philodendron burl marks. You can see it has a ton of the yellow variegation and some fully yellow leaves. So this guy's definitely a favorite. I think everything else is a repeat except this guy's not. So this is a philodendron Atabapoense. You can tell because they also have this purple back to the leaf. It did put out this super baby leaf recently after it rooted up, but the growth point's putting out another new leaf. So hopefully that one's a little bigger than this twerpy dude. And that's pretty much it for the prop shelf. Moving along down here, this big beauty in the back here is a Cissus discolor. Really beautiful purpley leaves. And then when they harden off, they can become this green color, but they retain that purple in the back. This guy grows completely crazy. This is kind of a relatively new plant, but it's just going crazy and it's wrapping around everything. It's wrapping around all these cords, other plants. So I constantly am trying to keep it around the pole, but it has a mind of its own. So moving along down here, this is just a baby silver sword philodendron. This one I'm definitely going to stake up. You can see there's a pole already in here. It's just not fully tall enough to attach to it, but hopefully the next leaf or two I can attach it to the pole. Here's another Monstera albo. Most of the albos I have were all cut from this guy after he grew a bit, and it's putting out a new leaf here. We'll see how variegated that leaf is. This is a Monstera Stanleyana albo variegata, so you can see some of the leaves have this white variegation on them. This is not a super variegated one. I've seen ones with much more variegation than this, but it's doing its best. Up here is this super sun-bleached Monstera Pinnati partita. We decided to chop it up and restart it because it was growing very leggy, and then we're going to try to put this guy on a pole, hopefully so we can encourage some fenestrations. Back here is one of my favorites. This is a Philodendron Dark Lord that I got my first time at Planted by Christy, and you can just see how beautiful these leaves are. They're this really deep dark green-brown color, and the backs of the leaves stay this maroon color. Here is a Monstera Peru. These are all cuttings rooting in moss. Some of these cuttings are definitely not going to take. You can tell by these super floppy ones we're going to lose them, but there's still quite a few cuttings in here that are doing very well. Here is a variegated Alocasia odora. So super beautiful. You can see the white variegation on the leaves, and the leaves can actually get quite a bit bigger than this when they're given really good conditions. And then over here in the back is just a classic Monstera deliciosa. This one I grew from a very small baby, so I'm very proud of how much it's grown. These are technically not mine because they're going to be gifts for some family for the holidays, but I'm really proud of these little mixed pots I put together. There's some Syndapsis in it, some green pothos, some golden pothos, some lemon lime heart leaf, regular heart leaf. So just want to show these guys off. I think they're super cute. It's a little arrangement. So starting up here, this is a English ivy. I think it's actually called a glacier ivy because of the coloring. This guy grows prolifically. I've been starting to bend its longer strands back up into the pot. It was getting too unruly around here. Right here you can see this wood board. I actually have my Cebu Blue trying to climb up the board. This piece over here has fully attached, so there's no tape or anything on it, and we're just waiting for it to continue to grow up. And this piece I'm still working on getting attached. That's why there's all this tape here. Here, looking very much not great, this is my Xanthosoma lindenii. So I'm pretty sure this guy is going dormant because they do go dormant in the winter. And even when I've watered it, it's not really perking up and it's really just feeling very sad. So I think I might end up just chopping it all down soon, and then hopefully in the spring it'll regrow. Next up right here is a Mandula pothos. This guy has the most beautiful leaf variegation, you can see, but grows super easily like a pothos. Next up, this guy I'm super excited about. This is a ZZ Raven. If you have ZZ plants, you know they usually grow pretty slowly, especially the Raven. This guy didn't do anything for about a full year. And then in the past couple weeks, it's put out 2 long strands. Here's one. You can tell it's new because it's pretty much bright green and just started fading to black at the tips of the leaves. And then this one I put out right before that, which is quite a bit more faded down to black. Over here is one of my first houseplants ever. This is a jade pothos, and I threw some neon pothos in with it. I just love this guy because this is kind of where I started my plant journey. Okay, so up here is a typical aloe plant just hanging out. This guy's been actually a surprisingly fast grower. There are tons of new growth always coming from inside here. Okay, now onto this little planty corner here. This is my main Syngonium albo. This is one of my favorite leaves because I just love how the variegation turned out in this leaf. But there's so many pretty leaves in here, and I need to save this guy up, honestly. I'm kind of just letting it do its thing right now. Maybe it'll attach to the wall. I don't know. We'll see. But it's just hanging out. Over here is kind of a Monstera corner. First up, this is my favorite Monstera albo. I'm sure you can see why. It has the best variegation by far. This is the newest leaf. I got this one previously as well. And then behind it, this is what I was talking about earlier. This is a Monstera lechleriana, but you can see a little bit better what the fenestrations look like. So they get these really massive fenestrations, a lot bigger than you see on a traditional Monstera adansonii, and the leaves mature quite a bit more quickly. And then down here, this is a Monstera we also picked up at the Equigenera pop-up. It's some sort of obliqua, but it's not the traditional one you see with the really tiny leaves. I'll try to find the name of this one as well. I put it on the screen. So this is a baby philodendron melanochrysum. This was the original leaf, and it just sprouted this new baby leaf here. So next up is a philodendron lupinum. You guys know I've complained about this plant before. It has these very, very tiny leaves which don't want to get any bigger, but it is cute. Maybe one day it'll be a little bit more. It's beautiful. This guy I'm super proud of. This is a Cercestus mirabilis. We imported this guy from Indonesia. I really thought it would struggle with acclimating, but it's actually doing super well. We haven't lost any leaves. This is the biggest leaf. There's a teensy bit of browning at the bottom, but that was kind of there when we got it. Right here is a Monstera subpinnata, so it definitely looks pretty different than other Monstera we usually talk about. This is a new leaf here. It's super beautiful. This guy right here, I don't know what's going on with him. He's kind of in a weird space, but this is a Philodendron undulatum. Super cute plant. This is a new leaf. Definitely some sort of damage going on. We got to kind of figure out what's going on with that. I also think it's not getting enough light where it is, so we're probably gonna have to move this guy soon. Back behind it is a Syngonium confetti. So they're super cute. They have pink, kind of like the pink splash, but most of the leaves just have like a kind of smattering of pink like confetti. And then back here is a Peperomia cubensis. This guy's a super cutie and he's sun stressing up top. Okay, that was the plant room. Now we're gonna move into the bedroom, our final room. Thank you guys for sticking around if you are still here. Let's go. So in the bedroom, my main plant setup is this IKEA greenhouse cabinet. I forget the name of this type, but I will link it. And this pretty much houses all of my Hoya and then a couple of other plants. So let's hop inside. So first up is this beautiful Hoya Finlaysonii splash. Super cutie. The veining is super pronounced, which I do love. Next to it is the newest Hoya in my collection that I'm so excited about. This is a Hoya serpens. Look at those fuzzy little leaves. Behind it here, this is a Hoya Ficii, another super cute Hoya with this subtle veining on it. And there's a baby leaf coming out. In the back right here is a Hoya rotundiflora. It has these super cute rectangular leaves, which is kind of weird, but I love how it's been growing. These new leaves are so shiny. Next to it here is a Hoya Mathilde hanging out on its little trellis. This guy I'm so proud of because he was dying, I think, last time you saw him. This is the Hoya curtisii, and we have this nice long strand here, as well as a couple other growth points coming out of the top. Next to it, this is a Hoya sunrise. You can tell because of the beautiful red sun stressing. Look how sun stressed this leaf down here is. It's super red up top. Back here is a Hoya parasitica splash. This is my favorite Hoya for sure. The splashing is kind of pink, if you can tell. This is a new leaf right here. So they start out super small and then they'll get about this size when they're fully mature. Down below it, here is a Hoya obligata splash. I just cut this guy, so I'm waiting to see where the new growth point comes from. In front of it here, this is a Hoya sigillatus, kind of longer leafed Hoya that can sun stress really nicely. These are some sun stress leaves here. In here is a Hoya Huschkeliana variegata. I just love the coloring of the leaves, and sometimes they can have some pink tones on them. In front of it here is a Hoya bella. This guy is doing super well, putting out some new growth as well. And then back here I have my little Hoya carnosa compacta, the albo variegata form. So you can see it's like the compacta, but there's just white variegation on some of the leaves. Okay, on the bottom shelf of this cabinet, the main beautiful plant is this beautiful variegated Monstera Adansonii. This is the mint form, although the variegation's been coming out less minty and more white. I think this was the biggest leaf it put out, this really massive guy. Super pretty. And down here, oh, well, you can see our little ladybug friend who lives in this cabinet. She is super cute, say hello. But this is a Hoya caudata Sumatra. So it has these kind of cardboardy feeling leaves that are a little bit fuzzy. And then we've got this new baby leaf coming out. I'm kind of nervous for the baby leaf because the last baby leaf it put out fell off as it was growing. So I'm hoping that guy sticks around. Here is another little Hoya polyneura. Super cute. In the back here, this is a Hoya Hotzii. I haven't been able to get this guy to grow. I have no idea why, but I'm not giving up on it. These are some cuttings of a Hoya pubicalis splash, which you guys already saw. Another Hoya carnosa compacta in the back there. This is a variegated Hoya carrii. It's in the one leaf club. It hasn't really done anything, but one day it'll put out new growth, I'm sure. Here is a Hoya croniana super silver. So you can see it has those super silvery splashy leaves. This is a little Hoya pachiclata. I ended up just cutting mine up because it wasn't growing, so hopefully this encourages some new growth. And then last but not least, here is Anthurium regal, doing decently. It did sustain some leaf damage as it was coming out, but at least it's not dying off. So next to this cabinet, I have this little Syngonium. I forget what type it is, but it's just hanging out here, taking the light from the cabinet. Up on the shelf, I only have two plants because this gets barely any light. This is just a regular Monstera deliciosa, and this is a Peperomia obtusifolia. Okay, so this corner is kind of the last corner that I have plants in. Here is a classic Aglaonema Silver Bay. They're also known as a Chinese evergreen. This was also one of my first few plants, and it's just never stopped growing. I love this plant, highly recommend. Here is a Philodendron Rubrosynctum Platinum. I never really see people talk about these. I randomly picked it up at the Equagenera pop-up, and it's doing well. It's still rooting up and acclimating, so no new growth yet, but all the leaves have stayed on, so that's pretty good. Over in this corner here, this is a Syngonium chiapense. They have these beautiful long green leaves. Up here is this cute little mixed pot I have. Oh, this guy is a little bit thirsty. But in here there are some Philodendron Brazil, as well as some neon pothos you can see up here. I think there's some regular green heartleaf in here as well. Just some cute combination for this trailing planter. And then right down here, this is the main Philodendron subvastatum that I have that I took cuttings from. I'm waiting for it to pop its new growth point soon. Over here I have a couple more random plants. Here is a pickle plant. I think these are just so goofy. I don't really understand them, but I just love it. Yeah. And then in front of it here is a rickrack cactus. You can tell it's a little bit thirsty because it's wrinkling. This is a Philodendron Bromarx. It used to be variegated, you can see down here, but it's reverted. But I'm really just liking how the foliage looks. These guys grow in such a crazy growth pattern. You can see the stems in there. So I'm just letting this one go completely crazy. Moving down to the door of our balcony, this is a Philodendron Xanadu. Has a pretty cool leaf shape. And then next to it here is just another Monstera deliciosa. Can you tell we love Monstera? We have quite a few of them. So the final plant on this tour is this beautiful Dieffenbachia. I'm forgetting what type exactly this is, but I love how the leaves look. This is the newest leaf it put out. It definitely struggled after we moved and lost a lot of the growth in the middle here, but it's starting to fill out again. It's gonna look good. Give it another year. Next houseplant tour, this guy's gonna be looking amazing. Anyway, that is gonna be it for today. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. I know that was a long one to get through all these plants. Definitely consider liking and subscribing if you're interested, and otherwise I'll see you next time. Bye. Here is a Tradescantia. Here is a Tradescantia of some type. I'm not remembering the name of it, but why are you laughing at me? Here is a Tradescantia of some type. I'm not remembering the